Good morning, everyone. It's Hanifa Menon speaking from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. And today's quote is from Eckhart Tolle, one of my favorites. Whenever you see yourself as better than or lesser than another person, that's the ego in you. So, again, whenever you see yourself as better than or lesser than another person, that's the ego in you. So today's talk or presentation or video is literally about the ego. It is about the birth of the ego, which is the second stage of our consciousness evolution. So, in our consciousness, remember that at first we're starting with a stage of innocence. So, innocence was the baby. The baby has trust, it has complete wonder and excitement at the world around it. So you know that you can shake something in front of a baby's eyes and it catches it. It's very excited. And then you can shake something over here and it catches that and it's excited. And everything is amazing to an infant, which is just taking in all of the visual stimulation, sometimes a touch. So this was innocence. And remember that we all have innocence still within ourselves. And then we move into the stage of ego birth. So, the birth of the ego has a lot of different thoughts behind it. I think as adults, most people think of the ego as not a good space. But I want you to remember that there's always good and not so good. So, remember, even in the stage of innocence, that is a very vulnerable state for anyone to be in. So if you're in a stage of innocence, which is a beautiful space to be, it's a beautiful space for a baby to be. But of course, it is very vulnerable. It is very dependent on the energy around it to take care. And of course, as we grow up, we start losing a little bit of innocence or perhaps less being in contact with that innocence of ourselves. And we move into the ego. Now, the ego is a necessary stage of consciousness evolution because this is where we start learning the things that we are comparing. So, can I do that? Or I can't do that? Or, you know, that when children are growing up, if an infant or a child has an older sibling, it will often look to the sibling for behaviors. So, the sibling is standing and walking, and suddenly the child wants to stand and walk. So, this gives us motivation. So, the ego development in comparing ourselves to others gives us some motivation to do more, be more. And this wonderful stage brings a lot of learning. And this learning, of course, is part of us throughout our lives too. And so the ego is constantly comparing itself to others. So you can know that in school, we are taught to get good grades, and our teachers will let us know, are we doing better than or less than someone else? And so our minds start picking up, are we smart? Are we not smart? Our feedback from family and friends and our comparison, am I a good athlete? Am I not a good athlete? All of these things start developing, and we start learning from experience how we relate to other people or how we compare with other people. So, this ego birth in a human consciousness mind is very important because it actually brings about a lot of good things in our development. When it is not so good is when the ego overcomes that true sense of self, which is that innocence. And there comes a point in life where a person is able to look within themselves and discover that that ego space, which often some people will call a mask. It's the role that we play. It's a story that we have about our lives. This is that ego phase. When you're able to overcome that thinking and look within, you find that at your deepest core, there's still that innocence, and that the ego is not really reflective of that deepest core of yourself. This stage is an important stage and important for us to be mindful of as we go through the next stages of consciousness evolution in our minds. Let's make sure that we are understanding our ego in our day to day experiences. Are we comparing ourselves to others today? Most people are. Are we judging ourselves or others? Most people are. And if we can catch ourselves in these judgments and see where they're coming from, are they contributing to the good in our own thinking or our own energy that we're putting out there, or are they contributing to some less than good? That is whether guilt of our own actions or thoughts, or whether judgments of other people's actions and thoughts. Both of these are judgments, and they're both related to the ego development stage. So I want today for you to understand what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're doing, and see how much of the ego is evident in you. I wish you a wonderful day ahead. And remember, transform your mind, transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.